Hi, I'm Chris Taylor. I'm the President and CEO of Great Bear Resources. Great Bear is a gold-focused exploration company. We're working in the Red Lake District of Ontario, Canada, and we've made what we believe and what the market is realizing is likely one of the largest gold discoveries of recent years. So I'm going to talk about that today with a few slides. I'm going to make some forward-looking statements as I present this information, so just keep that in mind. So Great Bear, the project that we have is called the Dixie property, and it's located off the side of the highway in northwestern Ontario. And if you're looking on the screen in front of you, you can see a map of northern Ontario. This is really about a 4 or 5 hour drive away from the next major cities, but the project itself is about a 15-minute drive away from a number of other large producing gold mines, and it's right in the heart of Canada's high-grade gold mining capital, which is Red Lake, Ontario. The property that we have is a 100% owned, so there's no divided interest in that ownership. That benefit all flows to Great Bear shareholders. We have right now about $39 million of cash on hand, meaning that we're not out of capital, and it gives us the ability to keep exploring on this project all the way through into 2022. And this is one of the biggest drill programs in Canada, which means it's one of the biggest ones in the industry. So we've got about a $25 million program going on right now that should drill us over 130,000 meters in the calendar year 2021. So what that means, if you've been following the story so far or you haven't, is that there's going to be a lot of drill results coming out on a regular basis. So we've put out recently new results every week, and it's showing the size of what we're dealing with. We have a very good board and management team. We can talk about that in a little bit more detail later, but suffice to say, lots of expertise in mining and exploration, and expertise specifically to the Red Lake area from a production and exploration standpoint. And we have a very good track record of turning dollars into market cap and value for shareholders. And what that means is that so far on the project, we've spent roughly about $35 million. And depending on trading on a week-to-week basis, that's going to be somewhere between about $20 and $30 per share of market cap that we've generated for the money that we've spent. So it's one of the most efficient builds of a major discovery and a company in the industry today. And this is a very rare discovery. What we found, we believe, is going to be one of these tier one type gold assets. And these are the rare asset categories that form the basis of major gold producing companies around the world. And if that's what we found, then these assets tend to be worth in the billions of dollars. So we believe that we have one of these in our hands, and we're showing it with the drill data after we issue hundreds and hundreds of drill holes, as we've been doing. So as part of that discovery process, we've recently been honored with one of the highest awards in the Canadian mining industry. That's the Canadian Institute of Mines A.O. Dufresne Award. We got that last year. We've been a top performing company on the Toronto Venture Exchange for 3 years in a row. And we also received the Discovery of the Year Award for Northwestern Ontario in 2019. So quite a recent track record of success, but of course, very early days. We're still on the early stages of growth in this company. What this discovery has meant for us is the projection that what Great Bear has in hand is really in very plain terms, very likely a tier one type deposit. And again, there's only, I believe, 17 of these deposits, possibly if you expand the definition, 30 of them in the entire world. So if you think about the number of gold mines, the hundreds of gold mines all over the planet, there's only either 17 or 30, depending on the metrics that you use, of these types of discoveries in the world. All of them are worth very healthy premiums over where Great Bear is. What this has done is that the analysts, the independent banking and mining analysts that cover the company, all have price projections ranging from about the low $20 per share up to the mid $30 per share levels on Great Bear. I've put some of the quotes on here, but suffice to say, the gentlemen that have worked in the industry at some of these major gold mines, they see the potential of what we found, and that's what we're looking at here. We also take our environmental responsibilities and our social responsibilities very seriously. So just this past year, we got into a long-term exploration benefits agreement with our First Nations neighbors. These are the bands in this region that have a very long history with all the mining and exploration companies in this area, and we have mutual respect and support for development of this project and mutual respect and support for traditional land access and environmental stewardship. So we're cooperating on the environmental monitoring and the sustainability of gold mining in this area. As you can see here, looking at a share chart, you can see we've done quite well. And this is just, this is a year, I believe this presentation is about 2 weeks old on the share graphic. So you can see the growth that we've experienced, roughly doubling in size over the course of 2020. And if the analysts are correct and the drill data continues to come back positive, we would see a great deal of additional growth ahead of us. Some of the major shareholders in the company now are some of the largest gold funds in Canada, like 1832 funds. We also have a large institutional shareholder in the United States, and that's Joe Foster at Van Eck Funds. In fact, we were added to the GDXJ index. This is a gold index of leading exploration and mostly development stage companies onto the GDXJ by Joe Foster in 2020. And we were one of the earliest stage companies to be added because of the strength of the results that we've been generating. So effectively, we were recognized as a major discovery much faster than many others. The board and the management of the company we've built up over a number of years. This constitutes a very experienced group of professionals. For instance, our chairman, Mike Kenyon, has been involved with the development and sale of about 6 different major mining projects at this point, valued to the tune of several $billion. We also recently added a director to the company, Paula Rogers. She was involved in a number of large equity financings for mine construction and project financing at that level. These are to the tunes of many billions of dollars as well. We also have a very experienced board on the exploration and discovery side, and we have advisors in the form of John Robinson, Jim Paterson, who have been involved with large discoveries and project sales. Internally, as management, we have myself. I've been involved now with mining for almost 20 years, and my partner in founding Great Bear and our VP Exploration, Bob Singh. He's been in the Red Lake area for about 20 years now, almost 20 years, I believe 19 years this year actually, and he's been a professional geologist for 30 years, so he's been instrumental in these discoveries. The other people that we've brought into the company are all experts in their respective fields. And quite frankly, what we have in our hands is the equivalent of a gold district. So if you're not primarily a gold investor, one of the best ways to go out there and make a new discovery, just from an initial grassroots perspective, is to try to stake a property in an area where you know there are a lot of gold mines. So the Red Lake area of Ontario, where we are, is known for producing over 30 million ounces of gold valued at many, many billions of dollars. So what we did was we staked a prospective project right beside the highway, and it's about 22 kilometers long end to end, and it's literally right beside the highway. There's power lines running over the project, and it's an area where we felt the geology would be very prospective, but there had been no historical mining because there's a thin layer, sometimes 10 meters, 20 meters of gravel, glacial age gravel that covers the deposit, so you don't see the bedrock. But we knew using government data and geophysics that there was a prospective group of rocks in this area, and we staked a large land parcel to control that, which we own 100%. One of the things we like best about the project is the proximity to those other mines and the proximity to Red Lake itself. So it's only about a 15-minute drive along a paved highway any time of the year from existing mines and the community to our drills on this project. So there's a famous discovery in Canada called Hemlo that they made. It's over a 25 million ounce producer, which was right under the Trans-Canada Highway. We'd say we're the next best thing, as we're about a kilometer away. In fact, you don't have to move the highway in the future if you want to develop something here, so it could be even better. So that's been a real boon to us because it reduces our exploration costs and makes the program really easy to operate all year. One of the things as a geologist that you see, which can really erode shareholder value, is when you have projects that are located on the top of the mountains or they're up north, or they're in a tier 3 jurisdiction, like potentially someplace in one of these third world countries that has a lot of political conflict. We do not have that. This is a safe, steady mining jurisdiction in Canada, and it's located in a mining area where that's the predominant form of sustenance, economic sustenance for this population. So it's a great place to make a major gold discovery. How we found this in the first place was really using the image that you see on the screen in front of you. And there was a geological paper published in 2006 which showed geophysics data from 2003, and on that data we recognized that there was potential for one of these big fault structures on this project. There is another big fault structure in this area, and it's located adjacent to some of the biggest mines, or the biggest mine in this district, the Red Lake Mine Complex. That was the underpinning of the big gold company Goldcorp for many, many years. It was the most profitable gold mine on the planet for the better part of a decade, and that's located adjacent to one of these big transcrustal structures that goes all the way from the base of the continental crust and all the way up to the surface. You need a big fault if you're going to bring all that gold-bearing fluid from deep in the earth up to surface where we can access it. But there was another big structure on this project. That's the one that we staked our Dixie project to cover, and that's the one that we're drilling now, generating all this gold. So I can't tell you that we have 30 million ounces or 25 million ounces or however many ounces like the main Red Lake mine, but I can tell you we're on the same type of control structure. And for instance, if you look at the analysts that are covering the stock, they've recognized that potential for a big scale gold deposit as well. And what we really have is a multiple set of gold zones on this project. So if you look at this slide, on the right part of the image, you can see the Highway 105, you can see the power line, which is the dotted blue line, and the different geology. Well, that LP fault zone on the middle of the property, that's over 5 kilometers long. In fact, we have drill holes into it over about 11 kilometers right now. But that middle 4 to 5 kilometer area on it, that's one of the largest contiguous gold zones in Canada that we know about today. And we're drilling holes on that in a tight grid on 50, 75 meter centers. Today we put out some results that were on 25 meter centers, and they're consistently showing a very large gold system, consistent high-grade gold mineralization going right to surface over a big area, surrounded by these big bulk tonnage gold halos. And beside that, we have the Dixie Limb Zone, the Hinge Zone. These are Red Lake style high-grade gold in vein systems, and they're as exciting as they are, and the fact that they have major potential in their own right, compared to the LP fault discovery, they're satellites on the big system, but very interesting as well. If you want to look at progress of the company over, say, a 1-year period, so this is about 13 months that we have on the slide in front of you, this is a long section that's cut through the earth to show you the distribution of gold results over kilometers. And you can see on the left where we were sitting back in December of 2019, about 6 months after we found this LP fault discovery. The important thing to look at here is the scale. That's 4.2 kilometers long end to end. And the next thing is these dots that indicate grades. And often in the world today, when you find a gold system that's this size, the grade is going to be less than 1 gram per ton. And that means less than 1 part per million of the rock that ends up getting mined, some of the biggest, most profitable operations in the world, less than 1 gram per ton is gold. And those can make very good mines. But if you look at the dots that are arranged here, these are intercepts of gold mineralization projected onto this long section. You can see that the pink dots are more than 20 grams per ton. The red dots are 5 to 20 grams per ton. The orangey ones are 3 to 5 grams, and the smaller ones are 1 to 3 gram. So just to keep that in mind, the biggest gold mine in Canada, Canadian Malartic, would be about this size in terms of strike length, physical footprint, but all of the dots would be, they would not plot on that image. The majority of the dots would be like on the right image, the blue dots, and some of them would be in that yellowish range. So, it shows you that what we found is big, but it's also high grade, and that gold result, that gold system goes right to surface. So if you have a chance and you see some of our most recent news flow, you can look at tables of drill results. We have them published on our website at www.greatbear.com. greatbearresources.ca. We even have a 3D model that you can spin around and look at how that gold is distributed. It can be very helpful if you're new to the project. You can see on the right side of this image in January of 2021, that's data from over 220 drill holes that we now have published on this LP fault discovery. And you can see that since December of 2019, it has consistently grown. And when we drill between pre-existing drill holes, we see more of the same mineralization. That's showing consistency. And that consistency of high grade going to surface in this big system is what's going to make this, in our mind, one of those unique tier 1 type assets. We should know roughly towards the end of this year how much gold there is in the ground in the sense of that 0 to 400 meters depth, and we aim to produce our first maiden resource estimate of those numbers around that time. Usually for companies in our situation, that's a major valuation watershed for the company. It's a threshold that we all look forward to crossing. And this is what a simplified model of that zone looks like. So you can see here, we've got it modeled over about 7 kilometers in this image. You can see the adjacent limb zone and hinge zone. These are going to be high-grade gold and vein systems, but that big LP fault discovery, look on our website if you want to see this in detail, but you can see the distribution of high-grade zones in magenta, and in red, the lower grade massive halo around that, which extends over kilometers. And again, this isn't speculation as much as it is data on this section in front of you right now from about 370 drill holes. So people often ask me, which one of the drill holes that you've put out was the one that got you to your nearly $1 billion market value? And it isn't any single drill hole. It's the fact that we consistently hit gold mineralization over a big area and it goes right to surface. So what are we going to be doing this year in 2021? Well, we think that by the end of the year, we're going to go from about 220 to about 400 drill holes on this target, and on the project, I should say. And what that means is that you're going to be looking at high definition, a very high definition view of what's in this system. And I think on the initial maiden resource number, based on what we're seeing, we think we can achieve that tier 1 type status of a big system that has a lot of annual production. And we think we can do that in a short period of time. In fact, if we publish that resource towards the end of the year, like we're planning, and it is a tier 1 type asset, it will be the fastest delivery of a tier 1 type gold asset in the industry today, and also delivered at the lowest cost, which is something I think our shareholders can generate a lot of benefit from. So if you're looking at the image in front of you, what you're going to see by the end of the year is that high resolution view and a lot of drill results. Lately, we've been getting so much drilling back that we have to put out results almost every week. So you can follow that progress in real time and see how it's accruing to the size of the total system and whether we're right or not. Is it one of these coveted tier 1 assets? If it is, the valuation prospect, that's what we're aiming for here. Now, because it's such a big discovery, one of the parallels that we like to make is to another famous gold discovery in Canada. I mentioned it a little bit early on, but it's called the Hemlo deposit. So this was discovered in the early 1980s, so about 40 years ago now, but it's one of the largest gold mines in the country. And it's produced, I believe, as of today, almost 25 million ounces of gold. The thing that we like about Hemlo is the thing that the geologists that have worked at Hemlo like about our project, and that it's a very similar type of rock package that hosts our systems, and it's gold that's predictable. So at Hemlo, you can take a drill hole within that red blob, which is about 2.6 kilometers long and generally located between about 500 meters depth and 1,500 meters depth. And you can put a drill hole in that and you'll hit gold wherever you drill. You can see on the long section above that from the LP fault discovery, you can do the same thing at the LP fault with Great Bear, and that's very unusual. It's in our industry, usually when you get high-grade gold discoveries, they're volumetrically quite small. This is why most mines will produce, even a decent mine will produce 1 million ounces, 2 million ounces of gold. Very few mines. It's a small fraction. It's a few percent globally will produce more than that. So it's very rare to find something that's continuous and high grade over a big area, which is what we see at Hemlo and we see the same pattern emerging at our Dixie project's LP fault target. So this is what makes us really excited, and the geologists that have worked on both projects see the incredible similarities between the core. So they look the same, and there's the same potential for predictability, which is one of the things that we really like most about it. So just to recap here and tie it up, happy to take questions after this, but this is one of these rare gold discoveries that is recognized as a potential Tier 1 discovery and clearly in a Tier 1 jurisdiction. Red Lake is one of the best places in the world you could find a new gold discovery. It is one of the biggest exploration programs in Canada, so it generates more fresh drill results than just about any other company. We're well capitalized. We have about $39 million in the bank right now, so that keeps us drilling through 2021 and into 2022. And the results here compare very favorably to other major mines in Canada, like the Hemlo discovery, or if you're looking in our area, the main Red Lake gold mine. So, and quite frankly, we'll never lose sight of the fact that we're very focused on keeping this project developed in an environmentally and socially responsible manner with our neighbors, the neighbors that we have in this area who are well familiar with mining and know the potential of projects like this. And with that, I'll wrap it up and I can turn it over to some questions.
Thank you. I'm Mark Reichman, the Senior Research Analyst who covers the metals and mining sector for Noble Capital Markets. I'd like to remind our viewers, if you have a question, please click on the icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and type in your question. So the first question is, have there been any offers yet?
We actually have had offers, and I would say these occurred, the first ones, over 3 years ago. So we could, if we wanted at that point, when Great Bear probably had about a $5 million or $10 million or $20 million market cap, we could have sold the project at that point. And just as it's kept growing, I mean, the value of the company has kept growing, and our impression of what we have on our hands, just, you know, we're very reluctant to let this go because we think there's a lot more value we can pile in for Great Bear shareholders. And really, we'd love to be the guys that build it. Our board, like Mike, Mike Kenyon's been down that road many times, and he says it's one of these things where whether you want to sell a project or whether you want to mine a project, you pretty much do the same thing, which is develop it, complete the economic studies, build the mine, and make sure you're not skipping any steps. It's permitted, it's built, financed, and if you do that, it's remarkable how often the big companies come in and take it away once you've done all the hard work. So we don't want that to happen anytime soon.
The second question is if you plan to publish the maiden resource estimate by year-end 2021, and you intend to have 400 drill holes completed, what will the mineral resource estimate encompass?
I think it'll encompass, like in terms of the volume that it'll drill off, will be between about surface level and about 400 meters depth at the LP fault and the other zones, basically the Dixie limb and the hinge zone at the same time.
Okay. And then with respect to the 2021 program, what are the high, you're doing the definition drilling, but you were allocating about 10% to the high priority targets, and I was wondering if you could kind of address those.
Yep, there's step outs that we need to do on all the existing targets. So for instance, if you've got it drilled down to 400 or 500 meters, it's lovely to show that it also continues to 800 or 900 meters or more. We've done that on a couple of the zones in a limited way so far. And there are other zones, like we found something we call the Arrow Zone recently. That was, I guess, about the middle of last year. And I think there's potential for a number of those, which is basically Red Lake style high-grade gold zones in different contexts, especially within the mafic and ultramafic package. So, it comes down to this point where, in order to get the value into Great Bear, we need to show definitively that we have the ounces in the ground and that the economics are going to look good. So we have to do that detailed drilling. We have to do it systematically. But as geologists and explorationists, there are other targets that we want to be able to put drill holes into. We want to be the ones that make those discoveries because we've been thinking about them for a long time.
Do you think there's any other 4-kilometer sections like the LP fault on the property?
It's an interesting question. Like the LP extends for about 20 kilometers on the project, and I think that it runs through where we're seeing all this mineralization is really where the fault runs through the felsic volcanic package there in that area. So I think the LP fault cuts into mafic rocks further to the northwest. It's something that we need to do more drilling on. It's probably prospective for Red Lake style mineralization along there, but further off to the northwest off the property, it's into granite batholiths. I don't think it's going to have anything in it there. The same thing with the southeast, unfortunately, for the regional context. So we happen to have staked it based on the data that we had from the government where it cuts across the rocks that are best mineralized. And there's no way that we can drill off the whole 20 odd kilometers of it. We did about 11 kilometers. We kept seeing gold, but from delivering value to shareholders, I mean, we don't need to find more volume of mineralization in our mines to get this across that tier 1 kind of level. We just need to drill where we already have. So in that sense, it's not necessary to find more. It's just nice to find more to know that we have additional upside. So that's the balance you have to play as the company in our position, is to show people that you believe full-heartedly in what you found. We certainly do, and that's how we keep that dedicated focus. But there is blue sky. We'll never have drilled off every target on this project. It's just too big. And quite frankly, we won't even have drilled off all of this system. I believe that would take many, many years of concerted drilling. But regardless, I think that near surface resource will be enough to get it into that top category. And we need to show that definitively.
Well, and you know, you're well funded into 2022. This will carry you through to your mineral resource estimate. You'd mentioned kind of the idea of selling the project versus putting it into production yourself. So what would be the next step for 2022?
I believe you'd publish the resource, and then we'll be getting all the things that we need to do to build this thing. And I would love to see this go into production. You know, realistically, from initial resource publication, I believe there's precedence in this part of Ontario for getting even big mining operations into production within about kind of 5 years from then. So, you know, what we need to do is continue down that permitting path and just make sure that all those T's are crossed, I's are dotted. There's nothing new under the sun that we need to do. It's just a process. So we're going through a lot of that sort of advanced stage work under the hood, like out of public view right now. But we've been working with the permitting experts in Red Lake and in that part of Ontario to make sure that that happens on time.
And just lastly, could you just touch on your level of cooperation with First Nations?
Yeah, this has been a really good relationship for us. The good thing is the dominant industries in this area are mining and forestry. You know, those are the top ones. And one of the First Nations groups that we work with is the Wabaskang First Nation. The chief there, Doug Riffle, we've been in business partnership with him for 3 years, and we formalized that with an exploration agreement last year. We just wanted to make sure them and the Lac Seul First Nation are in a partnership under what they call it Treaty 3 in this region. So we have a cooperative agreement. It lays out mutual respect and understanding, project support, and mutual monitoring for as many years as it takes to get this thing developed. And then, of course, you go into a mining benefits agreement, which these guys have with every other miner in the area. So it's nothing new under the sun here, but we've been benefiting from that cooperation now on a business sense for many years. And we're really happy that we have the formal agreement in hand now, too. It shows that we have good alignment over the long term for the project as well.
Well, Chris, I think that's about all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us.
Mark, thanks for having me. And any further questions, please contact the company. Go to our website. All the contact information is there.